Hey guys, so I'm just sitting here reading the book of Nehemiah. Maybe some of you have read the story, maybe some of you have not. I've read it many times, but just a few things have stood out to me that I just really wanted to share, and I encourage you to go read the book for yourself and see what revelations the Lord gives you. So the story of Nehemiah, Nehemiah actually, he originated as the king's cupbearer. So at the time there was a king, and he was serving a king in Persia. But as he was doing that, see, a cupbearer, part of their job was to taste the wine first, so that if it was poisoned, it would affect them and not the king. So it was also a very high-ranking position. It was not a lowly position at all. However, it was of great significance. You know, he was a protector. He was one that was trusted. I mean, it was a big deal back in those days to be the king's cupbearer. So I'm sitting here reading this and I'm thinking, you know, he must have thought when he was doing that like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing now. But I don't think he ever imagined himself rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. You know, the walls of Jerusalem had gotten destroyed. Previously, it was a place where God's glory dwelled when Solomon built the temple. But unfortunately, as we know, history repeats itself. In the Old Testament, this is a common cycle where the people stopped following God. They stopped obeying God's law. They stopped, you know, seeking after the Lord, and they became kind of just complacent with it. So the Lord actually destroyed Jerusalem, and so it was laying in ruins. It was open, you know, for attack. The walls were completely, you know, destroyed. And so Nehemiah, you know, he was serving as the cupbearer in the king's palace in Persia, not in Jerusalem. But he found favor in the sight of the king, and the king then released him to go do his assignment, which I believe the Lord chose him because he was trusted, because he had served the king, because he had, you know, proven himself loyal, and he proven himself to be a strong leader, you know, a godly leader, because that's what, you know, just sending any old person to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem wouldn't have helped if the person did not also intend to restore them back to God, restore them back to, you know, obeying God's commands, because that's what Nehemiah did. You know, Nehemiah, he was a prophet, and he wept over the state of the people and just the rebellion. And he even came into great persecution. You know, Sanballat and Tobiah, I believe, they came in at a time where he was rebuilding, and they began to mock him. But you know what? Nehemiah never stopped. Nehemiah never stopped building.